Join us for an enlightening experience where you will gain a deeper understanding of the purpose and essence of opening your eyes. This is your chance to enhance self-awareness and personal growth with a shift in perception that provides a fresh outlook on life. Embrace the journey from consciousness to superconsciousness. Coming live by Barrett Kunyan.
Here we are again, and we have a beautiful soul brother by the name of Dave Shearer. Dave Shearer, welcome to the Bioactivator platform. It's a real pleasure and honor to have you at our studio. So thank you very much, brother. To our beautiful viewers, before I'm sure Dave will give a little profile to his background. I just wanted to say that Dave and I, we had a beautiful exchange. I've taken some notes down, actually. It was, the exact date was Thursday, 10th of April. And we shared some interesting topics to discuss today. And both of us, we're attuned to truth. And the title that we felt appropriate is Navigating the Ways of Disclosure with Grace. And sharing the notes with our beautiful listeners, I kind of summarized a version here. I've just put it into a page and a half that I'd like our listeners to feel the energetic exchange that Dave and I we had on this particular day. So your message to me via messenger, lovely brother, on this day, 10th of April, Thursday, 10th of April. Since November 15th, 2023, deeper truths have been surfacing, stirring fear and resistance. The truth, or shall I say, the path forward lies in gratitude and forgiveness, which anchor us in the clarity and peace. What feels like censorship is actually divine tuning, gentle pacing to prevent chaos. For full disclosure, including ET revelations, is delayed for our collective stability. We're being guided into awakening, one soul at a time. Right, so here goes. Welcome, soul family, our beautiful listeners. In today's gathering, we step into the energy of accelerated disclosure, a wave that's been rising since November 15th, 2023. A deeper truths surface. They stir emotions like fear, anger, and grief. Yet within the turbulence lies a sacred invitation to return to our essence by anchoring in gratitude and forgiveness. We can rise above the chaos and meet the moment with strength and love. This episode reveals how divine intelligence guides truth gently, not through chaos, but protective pacing. As all systems fade, spiritual sovereignty rises. Even delayed, like contact, reflects divine timing. This is more than disclosure, it's alignment. And the truth opens the way to liberation. Brother, it's a real privilege to share space with you. For our beautiful viewers, before we get into the discussion of our beautiful title, which is The Waves of Disclosure with Grace, for viewers who aren't too familiar with your profile, would you just give us a brief outline who you are, where you're, if you feel privy to discuss where you're based at the moment, and just a little bit about you as a person would be appreciated. Thank you, brother Dave.
Thanks, Brother Barrett, for having me on and allowing me in your space as well. My journey, I'm a Western Canadian living in southern BC. My journey was initiated, one might say, 50 years ago, when falsehood sort of, you might say, reared its ugly head. There's always been an intuitive sort of response to falsehood. And although at the time, say 50 years ago and since, I registered it as falsehood, I didn't have sort of a cognitive understanding of why it was false, and how that falsehood is being perpetrated upon humanity. Things like that. That's been the beauty of this last 5 years, is this elevation of understanding and consciousness has come about, which is a reflection of actually the general overall global consciousness awakening that has been initiated obviously before 1987, but the harmonic convergence gave it a good sharp boost. Folks can look into David Hawkins' information there. That's pretty heavy duty when it comes to setting the record straight as far as our planet goes. But in any case, in March of 2020, when this thing rolled out, it was the lockdowns and everything were happening. It never registered as truth to me. And so I couldn't come to you or anybody else and say, well, Brother Barrett, this stuff's all garbage. My intuition says so. So what happened was I went ahead and started doing the research, and that amounted to 2 full walls in the room that I'm at now of research information. People who are possibly seeing my videos on like the Liberty Network, they'll have a little deeper center is, but it's essentially just the research based on a few particular points of what is falsehood that we're living under now. And it's hard for folks to actually accept a lot of it because they've been conditioned and actually programmed to accept and acknowledge and participate in the life we've all been sort of guided down the garden path on. And for Western civilizations, it's been not so hard a road necessarily. We've been taken advantage of. There's no doubt about that. But the palpability and comfort of our traditional daily life has been mostly acceptable in the Western nations. And that we're seeing that now as the response is slow on, say, a vehicle like gpms.world, where the response is slow to come on board because of that sort of accepted norm that we've all been living in. And a lot of that has been just straight, really good lives. A lot of people have had really good lives in Western society. Nobody's taking that away from them, that's for sure. But fundamentally, the breakdown that we're seeing all in front of us now with people living on the streets and such, at least in Western Canada here, that's an indicator that the system is not actually as the benefit that we've all hoped it was. And so the corollary to that understanding is that in order to move out of what has become unuseful is the uncomfortable nature of detaching from what we accepted as normal and comfortable. And so even, if that brings in fear or anger or resentment, that's, again, David Hawkins has the solution to that as well. We just need to really move above it. And again, that's what GPMS does. It allows the destitute and starving factions of our global population to boost them out of those lower emotions. We don't need to spend any time there. It's not part of our makeup. It never was. We have divine capacities within us that are well beyond that, and that's the basically the awakening that we're in now, is to recognize that and move forward with it. So that's kind of my general summary. I've been trained as a electronics technologist in telecommunications, as well as I was registered as an emergency medical technician in Alberta, Canada. And so those two kind of brief episodes in my life actually gave me the tools to deal with things like the EMF radiation that everybody is being submitted to now, which is way more serious than most people think, and other things, as well as such things as the fundamentals of microbiology. My training has also assisted me in distilling the basics of the fundamentals of microbiology, which again is still in our truth center here since 1765. The information is clear, going back to 1765. So that's just kind of a brief overview. We've had many visitors here. It's been a bit of grace and a gift to have a public storefront here, which is where I'm sitting now, and to be able to have a continuous pulse on the consciousness of the nation. You might think, by a sampling of the people who come through here. So it's really part of the integral to the advancement that we're trying to promote and move into the human collective consciousness. So thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, brother. So how do you feel individuals will navigate this emotional turbulence, which is kind of like brewing, isn't it? Really, it's kind of snowballing. Like you said, the numbers are, people coming out on the streets, and we don't want to go down the path of fear. We want to rise above fear. We want to rise above anger. I mean, there's a lot of frustration that follows often with hidden truths as we come together to disclose with conversations like this. Is there any sort of like certain practices that people can attune to that will help them, certain tools that they can use for the integration rather than the reaction? Because the reaction is pretty obvious, but what can the average person do to integrate into higher consciousness? Is there anything that you're privy to share with our beautiful listeners out there that can raise the frequency, something that's a real game changer, not to continually feed the beast system as often it's described?
The primary starting point there is, of course, a quote from the Bible here, and most people know about it, and that is, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." Now, from my experience, that is 100% true, but also it's 100% powerful. And for some folks, as they may be immersed in falsehood, it's hard for them to reach out and understand how that truth will make them free. But essentially, that is backed up again by David Hawkins' research, Truth versus Falsehood, Power versus Force, however you want to look at it. And it categorically states that falsehood is, while that may sound sort of mechanistic or esoteric or whatever, it actually comes through as fundamental freedom if once folks grasp it and understand it. And it's hard also for folks who may be accomplices or contributing to the falsehood and harm on the planet by inadvertently taking up professions that are doing that. And this isn't a judgment situation, it's just practical observation. And again, the truth will make them free as well. Some people have heard the quote that the truth, well, it'll piss you off first, then it'll make you free. And that's somewhat real. And so as we understand that statement, then we understand that the truth will at first seem to destroy our lives or our position that we're in or that we have taken on as being useful. And then once we understand that that's the case and observe the initial destruction, we're only observing the destruction of the old world. And that opens the door to, of course, the new world. And that's where the freedom comes from. And so having a little bit of trust and faith in that process will not only allow them to accept and claim the power from the position that they've decided to take on, they also will punch them through into that freedom aspect where they no longer have to be bound by the chains of falsehood. So it's definitely the order of the day is to kind of coach or inform folks of how it is that the truth is well worthy of standing with. And I would go further to say that on the Truth Center website, which you can post or I can post on the video I have, the Truth Center website, there's a master reference list. And it's 3 or 4 pages of books, some of which are behind me here. And people necessarily maybe don't have the time to read books, but if something resonates with somebody, then that's definitely your own signal to dive in. And that again is restoring and moving back to the intuition. It's always been there, but we have been propagandized to a large degree to give up that intuition. But it's always there for everybody. It's still there, no matter how much you've pounded it out of your life. And that's another sign to go back to your intuition and then let the guidance take you through, because all of us are divinely guided. It may come as an intuitive message. It may come as a sentence that we read or a book, or it may come from a brother that is there to deliver that message to us in many, many cases. So there's a few ideas there to navigate this troubled water that is likely to get more troubled as we move through the resistance of the old world to maintain itself.
Yeah, no, thank you, brother. I'm totally in alignment with that. And do you feel that how can we interpret the divine release of disclosure not as a form of censorship, but as a compassion for the collective psyche of humanity, drawing our attention to, what are the spiritual implications of the gentle unveiling of this level of truth. Do you feel that the psyche of humanity is getting prepared? Do you think it's there, or is it becoming to that place of acceptance?
That's a great question as well. And again, I go back to the charts of the levels of consciousness from Hawkins. And as we trade in and trade up any fear or anger or guilt, that, once we realize that's just a programmed medium, and if we can trade that in real quickly, I'm not saying eliminate it altogether, but just process it and then move it to the back burner, then we arrive at the 200 level, which is courage. And it does take a fair bit of courage to move through that process. And we all have it within us. As many people know, Father would give us nothing that we aren't able to handle. So we just have to reach down and realize that we already are strong enough. And when it comes to your question regarding the spiritual allowance of disclosure, that's obviously a very pertinent topic, because when you have a world that is run and organized and operated by financial incentive and propaganda and falsehood, then the new world that we're going to move to is obviously a very large departure from that. And so again, truth comes in, where once we understand the truth, then we're able to let go of the falsehood for the greater good of the greater whole, is the way it comes down. And so the disclosure in that regard, again, it can be devastating. Some of the information I have here remaining, if it did get out on CNN tomorrow, it would cause trouble. I understand that. I recognize that over managing it for 5 years. And so that's left up to Father as to how fast this information will come out. But the only advice that I would leave with that is for the average person who is just coming on to understanding that they may have been misled, is to charge in with as much courage and as much expedience as you can muster, so that we can actually push this ball to the goal line.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Interesting, Brother Shah here. He's commented here, and he says, "Do not play their games. Create your own board game. Board, so that you can move in the way you wish to, without any distraction or influence of unwanted frequencies." So yes, brother, I'll keep that up there for a little bit longer. On the topic of, ways that we can prepare ourselves. Oh, by the way, before I go on to that question, what I find is a lot of people have been labeling this planet as a form of a prison planet. So they've been sort of in this, if you will, we've been in a trap for millennia. And now there is an opening, there is a form of light coming through. Do you feel this so-called label, which for the many feels real, a prison planet, how does that sit with you, brother? If someone says, are we still living in a prison planet? Because so much is being disclosed. So what's it doing to the psyche? I mean, what's it done for you, my lovely brother? Where are you reference to this incredible label, prison planet?
The key to the prison system is subtlety. And so it's kind of a subtle chiseling of freedom that has occurred over the years. Some have fallen more heavily into that. And of course, that will align with things like karmic dispensation and such. But that's the problem in the Western societies, is the subtlety of the prison system, whereby it makes it palpable that we can all contribute to it. And so it's not such that it's such a horrible way to go for those in Western society. But there are many others on the planet that it hasn't served in a much larger way, because they've been more vulnerable to the system, the oligarch system that is governing all things. And so it's and going back to the comment by our brother there, Shah, I believe it was, It's the departure from the prison system that's so hard for people as they continue to go to the voting system. Well, that's part of the prison system. Or as they go and align with the latest word that came down from the judge. There's an altercation here in BC with the slaughtering of ostriches and such. And so as long as we continue to align with the old systems, then or the unwanted frequencies, as the brother mentioned, then it becomes hard for us to create the new one. And so that's kind of the summary of it as I see it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah. Preparing ourselves, let's say, for a grand disclosure of, let's say, potential contact, shall we say, with our, because there's been a lot of sightings and ET craft, and without falling into fear or chaos, how can presence or spiritual grounding serve as is, we need to create some, or do we, create a buffer zone for this mass awakening? Because so much is emerging at the moment, and there's been so many sightings as well. What's your recollection on this, brother? With the increasing sightings that's taking place. Is it falling into fear or chaos? Do you seeing that at all?
Well, all disclosure has the potential for chaos or mass disruption, which could lead to rioting and such. And that's the main ingredient that is being avoided by, you could say, Father and or ETs and or truth in general, is to avoid that mass chaos situation. But again, power comes from aligning with truth and love and or God. And so, for instance, this book right here, the Urantia book, I've logged over 96 various orders of beings throughout the grand universe and indeed our local universe, which is clearly outlined there. And so again, information as it comes forward actually destroys the primary hoaxes that are out there. And the first one is actually that, we're alone in the universe, which is a ridiculous concept if you look at a night sky. And also you could throw God into there, the presence of God or the presence of extraterrestrial, compassionate, benevolent assistance. And so there again, you're smashing boundaries by again, researching and bringing in information. Falsehood doesn't last very long when it's shone the light of truth. And so, this is the upstepping of consciousness, which also brings in a settling and a power, a foundational power base to be able to navigate these times that are coming up. And just realizing the level of falsehood that's out there for profit in many cases is enough to empower an individual to turn to the light and the truth.
Yes, and I personally feel as well it's essential to remember and to reconnect with our core essence. Our personal history of goodness and truth during this time of collective upheaval and revelation. How does this act of, shall I say, remembrance anchor us in reality, rather than illusion? Because the superficiality has been very, very strong for a very long time. and then suddenly you need to go into that core beingness of who you really are. So there's this wonderful form of activation taking place. Can you describe, because you're very much aligned, brother. I've had the privilege to share space with you. I've seen you on numerous occasions where you hold that power, that being centered. Is there anything that you can share, because you're walking your truth, and I see you, and I honor you, and I respect you. For our listeners out there, what can you share with them that brings greater alignment, shall we say, so that we don't get distracted in any shape or form?
Well, I think again the understanding of the greater reality of who we are on this planet, and that extends into the greater universe, and ends up with the essence of God, and where and who He is and how He operates. And in that understanding, you also get to understand the how it is that we got into this turmoil to begin with, and that is by the divine gift of free will that we all have. And it's unfortunate that some of us have been able to let go of their own innate morality or integrity to move into a space that is not becoming of their free will, so to speak. And so in order to empower oneself in that regard is the understanding of truth and love and God, and how it is that's essentially our fundamental foundation and our backing. And so any times we've been coerced or propagandized to access the sub 200 categories, once that cognition comes in, then it becomes much easier to release it, and that brings us an innate sense of power and conditioning.
Absolutely, my lovely brother. Thank you very much for that. It's the same for I mean, for me, disclosure is not distraction. It's for me personally, and I'm sure I speak for the many as well. It's divine deliverance. Every rising truth is key, unlocking deeper remembrance of who we are. I've taken a few notes down here, because for me, the fear and pain we feel are not the end, but signs of rebirth, guiding us into clear awareness, one soul at a time. I say to our listeners, stay rooted in gratitude and forgiveness. These are powerful frequencies that dissolve chaos and restore clarity. I feel in my heart, and I'm sure there are many who will resonate with my next paragraph. I feel we were chosen for this time to anchor light, hold it steady for yourself and for our brothers and sisters still awakening. Let each truth move us closer to freedom, and know this truth is love, and love is the highest form of disclosure. So, brother, I mean, do you want to add more to this conversation? Because before we came onto the show, we kind of touched on other areas that we feel that we want to grow into, possibly another connection in the very near future. But do you want to plant some seeds here now as an opportunity to disclose additional discussions that I'd be more than happy to participate with your beautiful energy in the future. Do you want to just bring some? You want to lay some things down for our listeners?
I'd like to begin by strengthening what you just said, as in we came here for this. Again, I go back to our little retail, where we have a little artist's gift shop here, and 80% or possibly more of the folks that come through the door, I guess based on our energy or possibly some of the signs we've had that have gone against the establishment. In any case, I'm witnessing that on a daily basis of what you said about we came here for this. And those that I speak with, they also understand that actual phenomenon that's occurring. And so 80 or more % of the ones that come in are actually, I don't like to use the word awake. It's kind of not that appropriate for what's going on now, but they are attuned and they are willing to ask questions. And it's comforting to be able to cohort with these beings, our brothers and sisters who come in, and then they can oftentimes they'll take away some paperwork or whatever that we have for them at that time. So it's a real symbiotic approach that's going on. Once folks realize that indeed they are here to stand firmly with their own truth, then it's important to realize that, and this is what the message I put out to them as well, is that each of us have our own unique individual offering to bring this planet to eternal light and life. And so, like to put that more clearly, yeah, I've put into a truth center with reams of information. Well, then that's what I do. That's what I'm good, appropriate for me. But everybody, from the youngest child to the most oldest person in our society, they all have something to offer this awakening, and that will be integral to the complete and final completion of the process that we're in now. And so that helps a lot as well once people understand that.
Yes. No. Thank you, brother Dave. Do you want to just outline the model with reference to, because there might be like listeners out there who too familiar with the GPMS, what it stands for is Global People's Monetary System. What role can this GPMS model play in how it will help navigate humanity like a bridge? Do you see this model as a game changer, brother?
Yeah, essentially it can be summarized by this. Most folks know, if you're a fundamentalist, then you know that we're here to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. Put differently, in these 2,000 pages here, we're here to settle the planet in light and life. Once it's done, it's eternal, and it's this is imminent. This is all imminent. They're both the same thing. So once you understand we're here to settle the planet, then it's possible that we require a strict and regimented, or not regimented, but a detailed process in which to do that, to establish that. And so 1 year ago, pretty much, I became aware of the vehicle that is GPMS.world. And in the year that I've been there, I have not found a flaw. Part of my gig, if you want to put it that way, on this planet is to find a flaw, or to find falsehood and uncover it. And as far as GPMS.world, which the kingdom of heaven on earth, I see no flaws in its ability to do so. And so it doesn't cost anybody anything. All we're doing is gathering consents to gain a majority so that we can establish peace, freedom, and abundance for all. And so it's up to the average individual if they really wish to contribute to the establishment of the kingdom, over and above their own standing with truth, beauty, and goodness, and that high calibration of, say, unconditional love. Over and above that, then we also have this vehicle that will actually accomplish that task. The big holdback for people in many cases will be the creation of an alternative system with its alternative financial system, because of the intended CBDC and stuff with the old system that's built to destroy humanity rather than free them. And so once folks understand the vehicle that is money, and you can look at G. Edward Griffin, the Creature from Jekyll Island, or any of those books, and you understand that money is fictitious. Well, we're going to create our own fictitious money supply to release humanity, like I said before, bring them from here to here so they can actually calibrate with brotherhood and love. Then it becomes easier to understand. And the ace in the hole there is that GPMS is a limited time offering. Once we establish peace and freedom on the planet with our own GPMS system, then within 1 year, I suggest possibly 2, that money will no longer be used. And the fundamental basis of that is that no advanced society will use money in the universe. And so folks are welcome to research that. But that's the necessary ingredient, that GPMS is only there to elevate and create the initiation of the new world, the kingdom. And then it will be dissolved and fade into nothing, because we won't be using money. Once we're calibrating with love and brotherhood for all, the whole system will fall into place, and we won't require money. It's not necessary. And that's hard for people to understand, only because for 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years we've been dealing with that system. And but now we're finding out that it's not serving.
Yeah, I mean, the founding father, shall I say, with reference to Rick Jewers. I mean, we both have had the honor to interview him. For me, some of the highlights, there've been many. The one that has triggered me in the most profound way, which hasn't been alien to me, I might say, because when we talk about the real intrinsic value, some people might quickly think of, money, silver, gold, Bitcoin, or brick and mortar. But for me, it has always been and will always be, which was highlighted with reference to Brother Rick Jewers, was the real intrinsic value is energy. And how we energize each other, and to bring everything into alignment with the universal natural law. Because as we all know, or most of us, shall we say, which we're getting closer to full disclosure and full alignment, is when you go against natural law, you see the kind of abrasiveness, acidity that goes with it. So it's better to go with the flow rather than go against the flow. My beautiful son and I, we put this 1 minute video about a year ago. It's just a very, very brief outline of GPMS. I just thought we'd just have a little break, Brother Dave. And then in closing, if there's anything else, brother, you want to share with our beautiful viewers, it just gives you a little bit of a time period just to think if there's anything else that you want to add, brother. But this will be, I'm sure, the start of a few connections we will have, lovely Dave. But sit back and enjoy this 1 minute video.
Imagine a world where every person is a shareholder of Earth's resources, where poverty and debt no longer exist. The Global People's Monetary System, or GPMS, is a new vision for humanity. It aims to replace the current economic system with a global model based on abundance and equality. With GPMS, every person has the right to a free home, endless access to money, and the freedom to live without the burdens of taxes, debt, and wage slavery. To make this vision a reality, GPMS is calling on people worldwide to unite, give their consent, and become a part of the change. Join the movement today and help create a world of prosperity for all. Visit gpms.world to learn more and give your consent.
Yeah, it's an energetic burst to connecting to what I call abundance. Because for me personally, Dave, I think I speak for you as well, that scarcity is a myth. It has been almost manufactured in such a way that we feel there's not enough to go around. So as we become, I think, conscious aware that that is an absolute myth and nothing but a myth, and change our operating system from scarcity to abundance, and start visualizing on the real, what we talk about, the universal natural law, cause no harm as well, cause no loss, and do not impose on the freedom of others. And to simplify our lives, brother, because, there's so much variables and so many of this and that, this, that. With all these labels, it creates more and more separateness rather than divine oneness. So it has been a massive, massive game changer for myself. And I can just share what's working for myself. And I'm sure, Dave, we're on the same page. And I'm sure there are many out there as well, which they're familiar with GPMS, and they're familiarizing themselves more. I'm just getting a few more interesting comments coming from a chappie called Tony. I'm actually going to interview this gentleman tomorrow. Tony's a very interesting person. I mean, tomorrow's interview with him, we're doing a live session, and it's to do with the pyramid code and the rise of the inner Christ, where ancient wisdom meets modern awakening. So I'm excited in sharing that. Brother, is there anything else you want to add to our show today? Please do so now. It's a pleasure to hear more from you, Dave.
Yeah, a couple of things that you triggered or has been triggered here in the last moment. I'll get to Tony's in a minute because this is important as well. But the first one that was triggered is you showing those beautiful scenes and expanse in the video you had. When I go up to a mountain here in BC and collect a little bit of wood for my winter heating, and we're using a rocket mass heater now, by the way, as well, which is ridiculously insane for the little amount of wood you use. But when I'm up on top of that mountain and I look out as far as the eye can see, and I can see a long ways from a BC mountaintop, and it's all green, nothing but green. I mean, when you said scarcity is a propagandized notion, that's a severe understatement. It's the prison itself is propaganda. Yes. And the restriction away from truth. We are abundant, and the GPMS system is a reflection of that abundance. What that means, put another way, is that, for instance, who owns the copper and the natural gas, and the oil and the steel, the iron in the ground? Well, we all do. All your listeners and us, we own it. And so GPMS is a direct reflection of that divine gift of abundance that actually puts it into reality. So in other words, the monthly stipend that is provided for everybody on an ongoing basis is a reflection of that divine gift of abundance. Now, as far as Tony's system moving forth, there's many groups out there now who are rising to this occasion and providing a alternative system or a new concept. There's newearthproject.org. They're also doing the same thing. There's Michael Tellinger's Ubuntu movement. His book, Ubuntu, by the way, is ironclad, and it also illustrates the GPMS system. So all these systems are necessary and pertinent for us to raise our consciousness and move, deny the old world falsehood and move into freedom, peace, and abundance for all. The only hitch is that it is useful for us, logically speaking, to have one central hub to actually implement this strategy into reality. And so again, that's where GPMS comes in. So if any of these systems don't have a far-reaching total takeover to remove the old world, then it may be beneficial for them to align with GPMS so that we can actually put it into practice and make it so. And this is faith and trust in a divine plan. The principles and guardians of the system, nobody's asked to put faith and trust in them other than in their ability to actually bring forth this plan and make it so. And so that's important to know where your faith and trust goes. It belongs with divinity and the Father, and this is a divine plan. And so the only other thing to add to that is, if for those who know what open source technology is, the Ubuntu OS system for computers is a prime example. GPMS also can and should be operated open source, and that is a guaranteed, ironclad, irrefutable system for actually fishing out any residual falsehood that may be available. The open source system has a way to identify it within seconds, confirm it within the next few seconds, and remove it within the next few seconds. So open source technology is the way to go. It's been proven, and that is a part of the GPMS program to ensure its stability.
Yeah, beautiful, brother. Do you want to pick up just a little before we wrap up? Do you want to just reference to what Tony's just put out there in the comments, reference to Elizabeth Knowlson? Have you heard of this lady before, Elizabeth Knowlson? In England, been doing a lot of, for years now, this current set up a currency. It's called kindness credits, where she's been like crediting people that have a good stand in the community as such. She says you give your service to them, then you're granted kindness credits, which you can then spend within the community by someone else doing a service for you. Do you feel that this is quite an interesting method of exchange as a form of initiation? Like we need to start a new format of some kind of initiation before it goes even higher, like a very powerful stepping stone, shall we say, where we become telepathic, and we don't need to do much more other than that, because I think that's the ultimate, isn't it? Having that ability to be telepathic, and all these spell words and languages kind of dissolve. But how do you see this sort of panning out? Can you see this as a possibly entry level stuff first?
Well, as I mentioned before, there's lots of different procedures like this one. Coincidentally, one of the people on my email list, her name is also Tony. And
Oh.
she mentions that, I think it was New Hampshire or something. There's one of the states who actually started a currency, and they used it within the state for a number of years. I think it kind of fizzled out. And that's the key point, is that unless it's something that gathers the global population under a banner, then it's going to be hard to actually punch it through to a complete new earth. And that's not to say that these systems are not beneficial, because they're raising collective consciousness to a new paradigm, which is exactly what needs to happen. But essentially, we need an all-encompassing system that's clearly benevolent for the greater good of the greater whole. And Michael Tellinger, again, his Ubuntu system is based on the Zulu philosophy, which is, I can't be happy unless everyone's happy. And so that's why his work is so powerful. And he's initiated a system also as a global structure. And I was involved with one of those subsidiary facets here in the Okanagan in BC, Canada. And it's just, it doesn't, I don't mean to criticize anybody in any way, because his philosophy is ironclad, but it needs to have a system that's flawless. And like I said, I see that system with GPMS, and that's why we'll continue to support it unless either a flaw reveals itself or we can actually convert the planet as is intended. Yeah. So I don't know if that answers the question properly, but it's we need a system that's global, and there are a few out there for sure.
If I may, coming back to Michael Tellinger, I mean, have you had the opportunity to connect with him at all? Have you had the privilege to communicate with him at all, brother?
Yeah, I tried to bring in his books, because if anybody wants to know GPMS, his book it's a healthy offering. It's called Ubuntu Contributionism. Yeah. And he's a South African, obviously, as a South African who's willing to question. He's got lots of fodder to dig into, as he should, and he did. And so his concept of what's wrong and how we make it right is ironclad. It's just his application of it is not as flawless as GPMS, and that's about as far as I'd go with that. Okay. It's obviously a global system is complicated in that it has to be 100% truthful and benevolent, but it's uncomplicated in the same fact that truth is uncomplicated. In other words, we trade in 130,000 codes, acts, and statutes and laws for one law: do no harm. And so that's also something that's hard for people to wrap their head around, as we get rid of over 100,000 other laws to create the one. And essentially how that comes down is that do no harm, once that's installed and everybody decides that it's a pretty decent way to go, nothing else in the old world will withstand the application of do no harm. And so it's unfortunately true for a lot of the old world that the application of do no harm destroys the old world, or a lot of the facets of it. So truth is very, very, very simple. And again, we can go back to Hawkins on that.
Yes, bro. Well, brother Dave Shearer, it's been an absolute pleasure to share space with you, and I'm sure this will be the start of a few, if not many, for us to come together again and to hold space together and send beautiful loving energies to our beautiful listeners, viewers out there. And yes, I agree. Did you want to add something else, brother? Or
one quick closing message? Like I said, what is light and life, and what is the kingdom of heaven? This is imminent. There's no doubt in my mind from my research, my lifetime research, this is where we're going. And so how it is that your listeners and humanity chooses to implement that is up to them. But once they hang on to the concept that this is simply what the negative stuff that we're involved with is simply the evacuation of falsehood and evil, then it allows them to move forward as we recreate the new earth. So that's just what I wanted to close out with. Thank you.
Brother, it's an absolute honor to connect with you. And I'm just going to close the show now. And I was just going to say, if you can just stay in the studio for another minute or two, I just wanted to convey some personal messages as well. On that note, to our beautiful soul brothers and sisters, light, love, gratitude, and big hugs from Dave Shearer and myself from Bioactivator. Thank you so much.
Bioactivator would like to thank you for your kind support and donations. Through Barrett Tunyan's guardianship of this platform, his activation of truth harmonizes, neutralizes, and unblocks the meridians that connect, balance, and purify all that comes in contact. Do no harm is the key that fully opens the heart's voice to be in the union of the I Am presence, and will represent every living organism on the planet whose voice would otherwise not be heard. Remember, the truth will set you free. Do no harm, cause no loss, and do not impose upon the freedom of others. Love, light, and